Well, it's Saturday night, and what am I doing here? Don't know, but stopping by and special visit tonight, everyone. So, how are you? Good to see everyone. Not something I don't normally do anymore, but hey, we have a special guest, and I thought, well, sounded like a good plan. And so here we are, folks. Welcome. So good to see everyone. Hello, Susie. How are you doing? Hey, Big Al. Still on the road, I see. Infant frequencies. And boy, just a whole lot of people. Lady Gray Raven. Haven't seen you in a while. Denise, anyway, 55 and looking fine, right? All right, everyone. Tonight, we have one of our own. You've seen him in here. He goes by the handle The Devil's Playground. And Nige is his name. I got that right. And Nige is in Bali. And Nige, how are you doing? Let me bring you in. And the reason...
Good. I'm good, Wayne.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah. Hello, everybody in the chat. I can't see the chat, but hello, everybody in chat.
Well, they look wonderful. They're saying hello to you. How is the weather? There you go. I love opening with that. How's the weather, Nige?
Very hot and very humid.
Is it really?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah. Really, really sticky. But it's great.
Yeah. Now, are you close to the beach? Isn't that the... No?
5-minute walk.
5-minute walk. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'll be going down there later on, sitting on the beach, having a few ice cold beers, looking out to sea. Yeah, beautiful.
Well, my friend, I toast you and welcome. It's good to have you on. Thank you, all the moderators. Boy, it's a full house filling up here. Hey, Trina, how's everybody? So, Nige,
yeah,
I've seen your comments. You and I have exchanged emails. So you work in China, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm an English teacher in a high school in China. I've been living and working in China for 5 years.
So I think the natural question would be, how has the experience been? What have you seen? And I guess first, let me back that up. Where do you come from before you were in China?
Born and raised in the UK.
Okay.
I migrated to Australia 20 years ago next month.
Wow.
I ran my own business there for many, many years. And then, sadly, things changed. Marriage came to an end. And I've been involved with China for many, many years because one of the businesses that I ran was sourcing products from China for businesses and so on and so forth.
Okay. All right. And a teacher, number one of the most honorable things any human being can do in any incarnation that they're in. So way to go, buddy. And English. So what grade, may I ask? Or how does it work in China?
Well, China's a little different. You have what they call primary school, which essentially in Chinese is just little school. Then you have middle school, which goes all the way to age 18. And then you have university. And strangely enough, in Chinese, the direct translation is for university is big school.
Big school.
School, middle school, and big school. Yeah.
Is it mandatory education? I mean, every child goes to school.
Yeah, pretty much. And most, probably 95% will go to university.
Okay.
Because it's the only way they can get a decent job is if they graduate from university. So but predominantly my students are grade 10 and 11, so sort of 16 to 18-year-olds.
Okay, so would be a sophomore, junior equivalency here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have my natural curiosity is, how are students that are basically 16? I mean, that's the height of teenagers. How do you find, number one, I guess, their view on life, society, and the overall impression you've had of China so far?
Well, to be honest with you, they it's quite insular. They don't have their own ideas. Okay, everything is taught, so they live their lives literally by everything they're taught. Predominantly, they're good kids. They're respectful. They're decent. They're honest. But everything comes from the textbook. Everything.
Are
Okay.
they
And
immersed into
China,
technology?
sorry.
Are they immersed into technology?
Oh, a lot of them, yeah, yeah. I mean, they all not in school, but you know, you go outside and everybody's got their head down in their mobile phone. It's no different to yeah, any Western country.
You see, I mean, this is a worldwide phenomenon. Nige, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it's the takeover of humanity, and not one person protested.
No, 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 no. I mean, and you know, you see people riding bikes, driving cars, texting, looking at the phone, not looking where they're going. It's insane. You get on a train. I mean, these trains are absolutely packed. I've got to be honest. The rail system, the fast train, is phenomenal. It's just so up to date and modern and quick and efficient. And these trains are packed, and everybody, like 95% of people, have got their head in the phone. It's only the older people, people over the age of 60, that probably don't have a phone. You know.
Well, I'm grinning here because I'm thinking to myself, you know, it's people. It's so interesting. I'm going to make a note on this because I'm going to write about this, because that's a phenomenal observation of, number one, how cultures today, they may seem so different, but at the base, it's everyone is still human.
Um, yeah, everybody's indoctrinated into the phone.
Yeah,
You've got
yeah.
to have the latest, Apple iPhone or whatever it is. But when you say the culture's the same, this is the crazy thing. The culture in not just China, but in the East, in Asia, is a complete reversal of Western culture. And by that I mean, let's just throw one example. Would be the dreaded 666, right? The mark of the beast.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, in China and in Asia, 666 is lucky. It's considered to be extremely lucky. It's the complete opposite.
Like our 777.
Yeah, and China's 888. The luckiest number in China is 888.
Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting?
I received a text message a few months ago. I think it was from my service provider, and it was a special offer thing. And if you wanted to take them up on it, text 666 back to this number, and we'll give it you. It's lucky. Yeah, it's considered lucky. It's crazy.
Wow. The other thing, you and I were talking right before we went, China has one time zone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know,
Which is
folks.
insane. When you consider the size of the country, it's absolutely insane. I don't know how many there used to be. There used to be time zones many years ago, but apparently they changed it. It's just called Beijing time now.
Beijing
But
time.
if you actually looked at a map, there would probably be, I don't know, anywhere between 7 and 9 time zones in reality, but it's just the same time across China.
So, folks, in the chat room, it's going probably pretty quickly, but here's the thing. So, Lynn and I were talking right before we were going to go live with Nige. Here's the thing. So, let's say that the sun rises at its most eastern portion of world time zones, Greenwich Mean Times. I think that's where everyone goes off of. So let's say 6 o'clock, in the morning. If you've got, let's say, 9 time zones, that means the sun is rising. Am I right at this? 9 p.m. at night. Now that's working the gray shift.
I've really got no idea.
Yeah.
I'm in the east, right? I'm probably, I don't know, 3 hours from the coast, from the eastern coast or the
Okay.
east coast. And the sun comes through my apartment window at around 6:30 in the morning. So
All right.
imagine what time it would be in the west, in the far west of China. China, as I say, it's a big country.
You know, it really does put a whole spin on the midnight sun, because literally that's what it is. I mean, wow. One of the things that is very prevalent now, you're on vacation, and I've never been to Bali, and I understand, is it as lovely as the pictures show?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, there you go, folks. It's paradise. At least, how are the people there and the culture there?
Everybody is friendly. Everybody talks to you. You can't walk down the street without a Balinese person saying, hello, good morning. They put their hand up, so they want the high five, and, yeah, really, really friendly. Wherever you go, everybody talks to you.
And why not? You're in freaking paradise. I just, well, I'm going to vicariously live the experience through you, Nige. That's how I'm going to do this. So, going back home, big pandemic, they're saying now, in China, the whole southeast region, and even where I live here in Colorado. We have a suspected case of this coronavirus. You and I were talking just briefly, and I was asking, I said, do you think it's going to be an issue going back in to where you're living? And you said you didn't think so, but we were talking about this, and you're the second person I've heard talk about this. Let's talk about this virus. This thing's apparently going worldwide. I'm not going to use the fear avenue on this, but it has the potential, if the way that I am understanding it, it's has this mutation factor, which most viruses do. What do you know of it?
Well, I've been doing quite a bit of research on this, watching it closely, because obviously, I've got to go back to China. And I think, without going conspiratorial, I can tell you categorically. Do you remember the SARS virus?
Oh yeah.
Well, the patent ran out on that a few days ago, literally. The coronavirus was patented by the CDC. Patent was applied for in 2016 and was granted July the 4th last year. So, and I haven't got confirmation on this yet, but I've heard through the grapevine that Bill Gates actually owns the patent for the vaccine. Now, when you consider not so long ago, in the USA, they were pushing for this measles vaccine, which kind of didn't work. I really think this is all about vaccines, because there's a lot of companies that have got a financial interest in this, and they stand to make a lot of money. I'm talking billions and billions if they can start forcing vaccines onto people. And to be honest with you, I really think that's the bottom line. I think that really is what it's all about. It's only the flu, right? Now that might sound what's the word, flippant, but if you actually look and you read what the coronavirus is, it's just another version of the flu. We've had the swine flu, we've had the bird flu, we've had the H1N1 flu.
Yep.
We've had all these different flus over the years. And here's an interesting coinkydink. Rats are renowned for spreading viruses and plagues, yeah?
So they say.
And we've just gone into the Chinese year of the rat.
Well, there we go. Of course. And why not?
I rest my case, Your Honor. I rest my case.
100 years ago, the world was dealing with the world at that time, the largest worldwide pandemic known to man to have taken place. Nearly the Spanish flu. It literally took out, 500 million people in totality. That today, I know I've seen the conspiracy videos out there. And listen, the one thing that's very apparent, and I've studied it, and it's in my book that we're finally going to get out, is the fact that when you look at bioweaponry, such as viruses, it's been known, whether it's the United States, Russia, China, probably India, Great Britain, that germ warfare has always been around, and it is the natural culliness of what we would call humanity.
Well, the research shows that they can actually target specific races, specific.
I've heard that.
I think the SARS, I think it was the SARS, it might be one of the others, that was actually called the Asian flu. It might even be the bird flu. It was one of them. It's called the Asian flu. It was targeted Asian people. And incidentally, I stumbled across this. You remember the H1N1?
Oh, yeah.
The H and the N, apparently, the H stands for Hispanic, and the N is, the N word.
Oh, well, I hadn't heard that one, but that's interesting.
Yeah.
I did in my book. I have a make-believe, a fantasy scenario, and what I did is that I went back and I started studying the Spanish flu, and then the one that's still the big worrier, and it most likely will come out of somewhere in the southeast, is a highly contagious avian flu, and particularly coming from chickens, and that's the one they really fear. But getting back to this one right here, it does seem to be spreading. Is it something that, Nige, are you concerned yourself about?
No.
Cool.
There was an exercise done back in October. I forget what it was called. You'll find it. It's called Event 201, right? If you can find Event 201, you'll come across it. And they said that this, and they were talking about coronavirus, could kill 65 million people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now, in today's headlines, we're told 56 million people are quarantined. 65, 56?
Well, it's going to be interesting if we start seeing the infection rate here in the United States. That's when, of course, all the alarm bells will be going off. I don't know. Every time, while we're talking, what I keep thinking about is the Georgia Guidestones. Going, okay, well, now what their number was 500 million was the perfect number for Earth.
Yeah.
Well, that's a large calling, folks.
Yeah. Where's all the customers? If the world's population to 500 million.
Well, excuse me, Nige, that could be the beginning of the utopian society where you eliminate all capitalism. Each person would be allotted what they would be needing for, the necessities, and, you wouldn't have to have commerce. I'm just trying to put a positive spin.
That would be nice, but I can't see all the capitalists giving up their capital.
Speaking of that, how is capitalism in communism?
Encouraged. Yeah. Insane.
Perfect word. I love that. All right, you should be a diplomat, my friend.
Oh,
Perfect.
and he's also respected. Um, there's still a huge gap between the rich and the poor in China. And I've experienced both ends of the scale.
Hmm.
I could tell you stories that will make your hair curl about experiences I've had with people who have literally got nothing, but they'll give you all they've got. The
Really?
humility, it's just absolutely incredible. And on the flip side, I've been taken out by extremely rich people for what they call a big dinner. It's called a big dinner. We would call it a banquet. And they'd invite, 50, 60 of their friends, Chinese friends, just to show me off. Not because I'm me, but because, this is our son's English teacher. He's our friend. It's kind of a bit of a status thing.
Wow. Love it.
And yet, on the other end of the scale, where you go and have dinner with poor people with literally got no heating, the heating comes from the cooker in the corner of the room that's just constantly bubbling with vegetables and chicken and so on and so forth. They've got no carpet on the floor. They've got absolutely nothing but love. It's incredible, absolutely insane. It's incredible.
Is that contrast in the cities, or is it many times what I think of China because of the vastness of the area is the rural, the I guess what they would call peasants and
Yeah.
other terminology. Is that still prevalent in China?
Yes. Yeah, and they're still called peasants. When you refer to them in English, they're still called peasant farmers. Yeah.
Okay.
So most of the smaller cities, the outlying areas are all rural. Yeah. So you can go out into the country. You can go and pick your own fruit and vegetables. You can go and buy it in markets. You can buy it on the street, literally from the people who grow it, and it costs you pennies. It costs you pennies.
Wow.
But you know what you're getting. You're buying fruit, vegetables, quality produce. You're buying it from the people that grow it. You'll buy your tomatoes from this lady, and you'll buy your your lettuce, your cabbage from another lady. You'll buy your eggs from another lady. That's all they sell. We grow tomatoes. We sell tomatoes.
You know, not just you were talking. I'm now I'm going to ask a question on um, how is travel? Is it restricted? Is it pretty open? Or typically many times I come out of the Cold War era, and you always have the thing in China of the checkpoints. I mean, what is it like in modern day China for a person like you? I mean,
No
you're
problem.
there.
I can go anywhere whenever I want. I don't need to carry any ID with me. I don't go through any checkpoints. There's none of that. Only time you need ID is when you want to buy a train ticket, or obviously a plane ticket. But if you want to buy a train ticket, then yeah, you need ID. Everybody needs ID to buy a train ticket.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's dead easy. And I've got to be honest, the public transport system it's insanely good, but it has to be because of the number of people. There are a lot. I don't believe there's 1.3 billion people. I really don't believe that. But there's still a lot of people. You can travel between cities, 100, 150 miles and nothing. You won't see another building. And then you'll arrive at the next city. And of course, it's all high rise and apartment living. So you've got a concentration of many, many people in each of the towns and cities. But when you travel across the country, you go for miles and not see another building. So you get the impression that there's probably more people than there actually are.
Now, how many people would you say live in your area where you teach at? Couple million?
Well, I live in a village, basically.
Okay.
of less than 1 million people. Just less than 1 million people.
Just less than 1 million.
Yeah.
What's 1 million?
The last city I was in was considered a very small city because it only had 4 million people.
Only 4 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing about China. I mean, their engineering projects. I mean, the Three Gorge Dam, the radio telescope that they have built, where, and I'm trying to think where the name of it. These are marvels that defy the imagination in the West.
Some of the buildings, some of the stadiums, the sports stadiums, and that, they're just insane, absolutely insane, beautiful. You literally marvel at them. How the hell did they build that? Crazy.
It is amazing. It is. Do they suffer the same problem cities all around the world? And is with air quality. I remember the Beijing Olympics, and the air was just apparently horrendous.
They have been trying to clean it up, and they've been quite successful. I mean, where I am, the sky is basically permanently white. You don't get a blue sky. I can't remember the last time I saw stars, back there in the evening. But yeah, it's getting better. It's getting better, definitely.
Some people are saying in the chat room, your mic seems low.
Okay, hang on. Is that better?
Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. How's that, folks? Is that good? People are enjoying this. It's a full house of all the regulars. There's Milky Way Messengers. Folks, go over into his new channel and subscribe to him. And let's get his count back up. Hey, Karen, Queen of Quartz. So now here's a question you and I were talking about, which I find interesting, is that here in the United States, and I would probably say in other places of the world, Great Britain, Australia, there seems to be the buzz that we're in the midst of the beginning of disclosure. But when I found this out in my own research, there's this huge void in the earth here called China. You never hear anything coming out of China. And you were saying, yeah, nothing.
No. And if you speak to Chinese people and ask them about UFOs and aliens, they'll look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, I imagine they will. They probably got a place they take you to for that. Will help get your head straight. But then we talk about and because the Chinese, their culture, I mean, it dates back just thousands and thousands. It predates much of the Western belief systems today.
Yeah.
And, their culture is full of what we would call strange creatures. I mean, do you still see a lot of that belief system, or has modern technology influenced the youth today where they don't respect the older ways?
No, they all respect the older ways. The creatures that you're talking about are, of course, dragons.
Yeah.
We still have the Dragon Boat Festival every year. There's dragons, all over the place. It's part of their culture. It just is what it is. And same in Japan. You go to Japan, there's dragons everywhere. Yeah.
Isn't it what they said, that the Great Wall was not built to keep people out, it was to keep something in?
That, I believe, is a myth. Have you ever seen the movie, The Great Wall?
Yes.
The Great Wall, guys in the chat, you must watch it. It's kind of a sci-fi kind of thing, but a lot of these movies are based on a certain amount of truth.
Yes.
Wall is just a really, really, really good film. I can't recommend it highly enough. If you've never seen it, then you must watch it. It's a great movie.
Is that the one with Matt Damon?
Idea about why the Great Wall was built. Yeah.
Was that the one with Matt Damon?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Number one, I come out of the video film industry, and the set design on that movie was spectacular. I mean, I thought it was anyway, but
And the special effects are awesome as well.
oh yeah, yeah. And it leads one to believe that if something is so enriched in the culture, that tells me I actually believe there were such creatures. Call them dragons,
Yeah,
call them what you want.
yeah. I absolutely totally agree with you. Totally agree.
Um, have you gone to what is it? The Great City,
Forbidden City.
the Forbidden City. Thank you, sir.
No, it's on my bucket list. I mean, I've been to Beijing a few times, but personally, I don't like Beijing. It's just, when I grew up in the UK, I never liked London.
Is it a little crowded in Beijing?
Sorry?
Is it a little crowded in Beijing?
Oh, just a little, just a little bit.
You and your, I don't know, what is the population there now? What, 30? I mean, I know Mexico City, I heard recently, is getting closer to 30 million.
Yeah, it would be somewhere around that. Same in Shanghai.
I can't imagine that.
What blows me away is some of these cities, their population is greater than the population of Australia when you consider the size.
Yeah, Nige probably got skyscrapers that got more people in it than some villages in Australia. I mean, talk about having your own tribe. Yeah. Now you see that building right over there? That's our tribe, man. I mean, we own the whole damn thing.
Yep, you got it. You got it. But for the most part, people are happy. If they're not happy, they're at least contented.
Well, let me ask you something. Getting into religion and that, is there what is the belief system there? Is it more occultish in nature, or how is that? I mean, it's probably one of the biggest misconceptions here in America, that the repression of religion, and we hear it all the time. What's your take?
If you want to be a practicing Christian, you can find a church, right?
Mm-hmm.
What they don't want is people preaching, people like us going around preaching our beliefs. It's a more of a private thing.
I agree.
But I guess if I had to put a name on it, I would say Buddhism is probably the most prevalent belief system, rather than Christianity, for example.
Mm-hmm.
They revere Buddha, they revere Confucius, and their teachings. I mean, if you look at Confucius, the teachings that are accredited to Confucius, they make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
The whole system, even the legal system in China, seems to be based on one fundamental thing: do what you want to do, just don't hurt anyone. It really is that simple. If you want to walk down the street at 3 o'clock in the morning, start naked, nobody's going to arrest you. If you want to drive the wrong way down a one-way street, nobody's going to give you a ticket. Do what you want, just don't hurt anyone. And that seems to be basically the soul, if you like, the soul of the Chinese people. They have no desire to hurt anyone.
I think that's fabulous. I mean, the construct is fabulous. I mean, it's one that, having grew up in the late 60s and early 70s here, in what they call the counterculture, is someone says there's good musicians too from China. Yeah, but how is the music? I hadn't even thought about that. But
some of the music is just beautiful. It really is. I mean, you've got the pop culture, which is very similar to Western pop culture. But yeah, a lot of the music is good.
Does rock and roll live well in China? I mean, what I call our era. I come from the 70s.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, yeah. So they dig it?
Pretty much the same. Yeah, the only thing that makes me laugh is when people tell you, "Oh, I love Beijing opera." Now, Beijing opera is the most hideous, horrible, screeching, wailing sound you'll ever hear in your life. but it's kind of hip to like it. You know, there's actually nothing to like about opera. You know,
Well, I was going to say, well, it's good to know that in Denver, Colorado, Led Zeppelin is Led Zeppelin in Shanghai. So,
yeah. Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean,
I warn you. If Beijing opera will make your ears bleed.
I think I've heard the music before, and it's it's like a dead cat being, stretched. Yeah.
Yeah.
No disrespect. I mean, culture is culture all over the world. You know,
No disrespect. No
no,
disrespect. You know,
it's
we've all got our own taste, but
so you find Buddhism and Confucian. So, and what I equate to that, Nige, I equate that to discipline, inner discipline. Is that kind of what we're talking about with the,
yes.
yeah.
The teachings of Buddha, Confucius, whether or not these people existed is not important. It's what the teachings that have been ascribed to these people. Buddha said this and Confucius said that. This is what is taught to kids from a very, very early age. And it's ingrained in their culture. Yeah.
I'm just going to make, and this is just my opinion, folks. This is the thing that concerns me most, Nige. When I hear your personal experience, and then what I see here, particularly in America, you see the youth here, there is no discipline. There's no teaching of the inner view of the soul. And unfortunately, materialism is what's taught. And if you have two opposing parties and you have one that is completely disciplined, taught from a very early age, and one that's not, guess what's going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And you're in the educational system there. Ours here in the United States is in shambles. The United States now in overall scores of academia, in our high schoolers, we're now, I think, 24th in the world, whereas China is nearly at the top, almost in everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I actually feel sorry for students in China. I'll be honest with you. The school that I work in is a boarding school, right? So my kids have lessons 7 days a week.
7 days a week?
7 days a week. Yeah. And they're in school from 7 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. I'm not joking.
No way.
Yeah. I mean, they get long breaks. I mean, you get 2 hours, 2.5 hours at lunchtime, and you get another couple of hours in the evening. But they're basically in school from until nearly 10 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Insane. The pressure on Chinese kids to study is insane. But a friend of mine was working in Japan. He said it's even worse in Japan. You're not allowed to free think in Japan. Everything's done in groups. All your lessons, all your projects, everything is done in groups. You've got to have this group mentality. You're not allowed to think outside the box. Not quite the same in China, but the pressure to study, the pressure to do well, the pressure to get good grades is rife. And this is why many of them go to university, because they, if you haven't got a university degree, you're not going to get a good job. So it's ingrained from a really, really early age.
Are you seeing I know, and this is back in, in the 20th century, probably dating back to the 19th century, that there was, because of the culture, girls were not considered a good thing to give birth to. Today, do you still see that imbalance? And of the girls that you see in your classes, do they outperform the boys as they typically do here?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Totally.
Wow.
Totally outperform them. Yeah.
That's amazing. Are they competitive?
Oh, very. Oh, are they? Oh my, competitive. Oh, nothing they like more than when I go into class and I go, right, okay, it's this half of the class versus this half of the class, and we'll do an English quiz or girls against boys. Oh, mate, competitive. It's insane. They love it. They love it.
Amazing. Now is English important for Chinese students to
Yes.
learn?
Yeah, it's been on the curriculum since the mid-80s, I believe. Yeah.
Now, isn't that sad? Because here in the United States, unfortunately, I think it's an elective now where when I was in the school system, there were three primary languages that everyone had to take. You had a choice of Spanish, French, or German. And I took German and then I took French. So, but English is very important there, right?
Yeah.
Nige, you there? Okay.
When I was in high when I was in high school, it was Latin and French, and
Latin and
I
French.
learned no French whatsoever. Just not interested. Yeah, there's many schools, mine included. They have what they call an international department, and students go in there for 2 years with the view of going to Canada or America to further study.
They're going to kick our butts. I mean, folks, I'll just tell you, I mean, if you've got an educational system where you have the student body in there for what would be the equivalency, nearly 15 hours a day. Nige,
Yeah.
is that correct?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
I mean, and then you go over to do your doctorate work and higher education in, let's say, America. Yeah, this is, and I see it all the time in academic papers. There's more and more exceptional, particularly in the area of astrophysics. Much more papers coming out of China, and that's problem. I mean, 50 years from now, you can see how that would be a huge problem for the West.
Yeah, but on the other side, you've got to remember that China is basically the world's factory, right? So there's a lot of international trade. So these Chinese students, that if they get a good grasp of English, they've got a job for life. They can go and work in international trade, and they can deal with, English-speaking customers without a problem, and they get well paid.
And there are many factories there in China.
Oh, yeah, like many is an understatement.
I heard some of them are as big as cities.
Oh, they're huge, absolutely huge. Yeah, you can go to a factory. A small factory would have 1,000 workers. A big factory, 10,000-20,000 workers. Insane, huge.
The logistics. I mean, the scheduling. That's what I immediately start thinking of and going, no way. Which leads me to the next thing. So, AI. Are you seeing is as much of the takeover as we're seeing here in the West?
The letters AI are actually on my washing machine in my apartment.
A hell of a reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, go on. I'm sorry. I just love that.
But conversely, what we're told and what we're seeing in the West is companies like Amazon are getting rid of workers and replacing them with robots. Well, in China, I can't see that happening. I've been to hundreds and hundreds of factories over the years. And I remember being in one factory and in one department, they got I counted 40 people doing something that a machine could do. And when I asked the boss, why don't you just put a machine? He said, it's cheaper to employ people. People don't break down. People don't need maintenance. It's much better and cheaper for us to use people than it is to go and buy a machine that's going to be out of date in 2 years' time. It's going to break down. It's going to need servicing. No, we're not interested.
You know, as you were talking, I was just thinking on some of my notes that I read an article because in software, Shanghai primarily am I correct on this? Is it still a high technological area? It's yeah,
Yes.
something like we would see.
Not just Shanghai. Not just Shanghai. There are many other areas as well that are quite high tech. But pretty much Shanghai.
Now, as I understand it, as some person told me that in these high tech centers where the salaries are extremely lucrative, that it's almost like they said, like being in any San Francisco or whatever. They have lots of money. They have the luxury cars, the luxury apartment. Is that correct? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But the interesting thing is, lots of money in China compared to lots of money in America are worlds apart, because the economy, products, everything is so much cheaper in China. The cost of living in China is ridiculously cheap.
Is it really?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, once you go into the big cities like Shanghai and Beijing, then yeah, it does get quite expensive. But where I am, I mean, it's so ridiculously cheap that it's insane, absolutely insane. So a rich person in China bringing all his money to America would not be classed as a rich person.
I was just thinking. So, and I don't know if we could make the monetary equation in there, but I was just thinking: is the standard living arrangement in not a private home, but more of apartment homes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's mostly apartment living.
And what's the average square footage?
There are houses, but it's mostly apartments. Yeah.
And the square footage?
Oh, it depends. It varies. My apartment's about 150 square feet. 3 bedrooms, study, lounge room, dining room, kitchen, 2 bathrooms.
Wow.
And there's just little old me rattling around there. Pain in the ass when we got to clean it, but
hey, that's not bad at all. Wow. I mean, this has just been freaking fascinating. I wanted to get back on this coronavirus. It's very interesting because the big tech companies here, they're all about now genetics. The founder of Google, his wife, she started 123andMe, the genetic, and they just got issued, by the way, late last year, their first patent that they have gained because they now have this genetic database.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, anybody that gives DNA samples or goes to places like 23andMe, I mean, they've got rocks in the head, because it's all by design, and this isn't conspiratorium at all. It's all by design. They're collecting data, as you say, in order to collect patents, in order to make silly amounts of money, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
Nobody does this stuff for free. I mean, it's all about, let's make as much money as we possibly can.
So someone said is it the yuan, your money base over there for China, the currency?
Yuan.
The yuan, yeah. So the conversion 1 yuan to is converted
That's
to
6.5, between 6 and 7 yuan to $1 US.
Yeah, it's 14 cents. So yeah, okay. I had never realized that. And so as a foreigner, are you considered that? I mean, you have an accent that is distinguishable, and I'm sure it would be in China as well.
Well, let me put it this way. In the town that I'm currently working, and I've been there for 2 years, I am the only Western person in the whole town of allegedly 700,000 people. So wherever I go, I'm like a panda.
Can I rub your head?
Strangers will shout hello, and people come up to you in the supermarket with a little kid and they want the photograph taken with you because they've only ever seen a Westerner on the TV. They've never seen one in real life.
I love this. So you're a novelty as well.
Oh my God, yeah. Not so bad now because, people have got used to seeing me around. But when I first went there, oh my God, it was just insane.
Someone wants to know, is fast food restaurants all around? Do they have McDonald's and
there's no McDonald's in the town where I am, but there is a KFC. Yeah. Oh, there's a Burger King. There's a Burger King.
There's a Burger King, really?
Yeah, there's a Burger King, but not a Macca's.
So you can go in there and get a Big Mac and order fries and a Coke, huh?
Ever eat that stuff, ever. No, thank you. Chinese kids love it. Burgers, pizza. You ask any Chinese student, what is your favorite Western food? And they will say pizza without a shadow of a doubt.
I love this. People are people.
So like if you want to go out and get a pizza, it will cost you pretty much the equivalent of about 15 or 16 American dollars for a pizza.
Wow. Yeah, it is. So what is the general diet there?
Rice, noodles, eggs, pork.
Okay.
Yeah. Soup.
Yeah. A lot of chicken.
A lot of chicken, a lot of vegetables.
Yeah.
It is said, again, this is Wikipedia, so it is said that 50 million chickens a week are consumed in China and 19 million pigs a day. A day.
Wow. That's a lot of white meat.
Oh, yeah.
That's all I got to say. And by the way, to be all seriousness, this is the problem where viruses are concerned. The virologist, this is the big concern. I mean, and it will come out of the Southeast Asian area. I guess China is what we're talking about.
I'm going to rephrase what you just said a little bit. This is where we're told they come from.
Okay.
This is where we're told they come from, right? We don't know. We only know what we're told.
That's true.
That's why believe has got lie right in the middle of it.
As an English teacher, well pointed out, sir. I like that.
Well, alien has as well.
Well, true. Yeah. Julianne Payne, who it's probably middle of the night where she's at, but she would tell you the same thing. It's all in the language, folks. It is. Oh
my word, yeah. There's a great. I go into it a great deal in my books. There's 3 books, Devil's Playground. And I go into the English language quite in depth.
Now, are these books available on Amazon?
They're available free.
Free? You need to send me that. I get so busy here. Get that. How can someone get a copy of your books?
Okay. Well, there's a friend of mine who has a website called I Check Your Soul. Okay. I Check Your Soul. So if you go on to I Check Your Soul, you will see on the front page, you'll see the menu, you'll see the Devil's Playground. Just click on that. That's my page. All my books are on there. There's some PPTs that are on there that you can download. It's all free.
So it's I check. Is that
I check your soul.
I check your
Soul.
soul?
S-O-U-L. icheckyoursoul.com. Yeah.
Okay, folks. Check that out. And what are the books on? Tell me.
Well, the book one is basically my awakening experience. I documented everything that was happening to me, and I eventually put it in a book. And then the second part of the book, book two, is essentially a continuation of the first. And then book three just goes into everything. You know, I can take you I can not only take you down a rabbit hole, I can give you a tour of any rabbit hole.
Are you saying you got a vacation property there?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what I tell people. I'm gonna get a T-shirt on that. By the way, it's like
I'm
you know.
I'm currently writing book four, which is huge. This is going to be like 600-700 pages. It'll be ready in a couple of months. But what I've decided to do with that is I'm going to make that for sale for, like, I haven't decided yet, maybe $5 or something silly. And then what we're going to do with that through my school, my goal is to sell 10,000 copies, which will be $50,000 US. And what we're going to do with that via my school is we're going to buy educational material that we're going to give to schools in the rural areas of China, where basically, you know, peasants and farmers, where they've got virtually nothing. So whether it be school uniforms or whether it be books and pens or whatever. And the local government, I spoke to my boss about this, and he went and spoke to the local government, and the local government has said they'll back me.
Oh, wonderful. Well,
and considering the content of the book, because, you know, this is rabbit hole stuff. This is deep down the rabbit hole. So considering the content of the book, which they wouldn't be able to read anyway, they're just happy that that I've said, look, this is what I want to do. I mean, I've been to a tour of many schools out in the rural areas, and, you know, they've got nothing. And I'm like, well, you know, 50,000 bucks would be nearly 400,000 yuan. And that is a big pile of cash in China. And we'll be able to get some really good deals from some of the educational factories, you know, people that produce this stuff when we go and buy it in quantity. And we can probably donate enough for a dozen schools.
Well, I'll tell you what. Our hour is about wrapped up here, but Nige, I'm going to put this out for you. Let's have you back on. No, listen, what I'd like you to do is talk about your awakening experience, kind of give us your, I kind of like to say this, you know, growing up as a kid, I loved campfires. And, you know, we'll just kind of do this like a little campfire chat. Just tell us about your experience of awakening. And in the meantime, we'll get it made to where people can go over, download the book and make a donation.
Yeah, to whatever. I mean, I'm happy with anything. I haven't got anything set up yet for donations or purchase or whatever, because, you know, I'm a firm believer that you know, money is not important.
Well, but in this case, it is, and so get a PayPal account.
You know, I mean, I awoke in the beginning of 2017, and I've done, if I had to estimate, probably close to 15,000 hours down various, you know, every rabbit hole you could ever imagine.
So you do have a permanent home. I like that. I mean, I'm going to move and move next door to you. I like that.
I'll tell you something. There was one of your podcasts I was watching recently, and you said, the words you said were that you have a huge problem with the Elohim. And mate, if I could have high-fived you right then and there, I would have done exactly the same.
I despise those bastards, but anyway.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I really do. I mean, you know, and that would make me an intergalactic racist then. It's true.
And incidentally, I mean, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to Jeff Doherty, however you say it, because I actually learned a lot from him, and I was watching some of his early stuff when he only had, like, I don't know, 2,000 subs, and I went off on my own, but using what he taught me, and in one of my books, I can't remember if it's book 1 or book 3, but I totally, using the Bible itself, I totally debunked the creation story of Genesis 1. Completely and totally debunk it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
as a result of what I learned from Jeff. So, bit of a shout out to him. I know you guys are friends. But yeah.
He's got that talent to help people in that what I call getting out of the immersion.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
It's just, it's like putting your hand in a vat of oil, man. Anyway. Listen, I'm serious about having you back on. I like this idea of this community sowing seed in a great nation like China.
Yeah.
And I can't think, folks, of something that could be more lasting than, hey, listen, if it's $1, $5, a small donation like that.
Anything. Yeah.
The intent, folks, is, and listen, this was not planned. This is the kind of thing that I like getting behind. We help Lois, Cajun Queen Taro, and her food bank down there. And this is something I think we can get around as well. And so, yeah.
And it would also, selfless plug, it would also be cool if some of your guys would go over and sub to my channel. I've only got about, I don't know, less than 400 subs. It's just called the Devil's Playground channel.
Send me that. I'll get that out there and I'll put that in as well. We'll get people, folks, and do the same thing with Brian over at Milky Way Messengers as well. Let's help these smaller channels, folks. Listen, if there were enough people right now that have watched this, which is probably well over 500 so far and counting, going up there, listen, we can help these smaller channels, and we can all kind of rise up together. And
the whole YouTube rules change once you get to 1,000 subs. You only need 1,000 subs. You can live stream. You can do all sorts of things once you get to 1,000 subs. So 1,000 subs is all
right. Let's make it a goal, folks. Come on, we can do this. I know on both sides, so let's do it. Okay. Now, don't get all excited all at the same time now. I mean, geez, come on, folks. I mean, the freaking enthusiasm level was, I'm just kidding. Nige, thank you, sir. Go out, have a cold beer on me. This has been an absolute delight.
Thank you.
Would you like to?
The pleasure's all mine.
Well, why don't you take us out and say something? And we got a full house here, and so talk to us.
Well, thank you for allowing me on, and thank you to everybody in the chat. If you've got any questions, you can always put them in the comments section, and I'll come back and have a look later. My personal email is in my book, and also on that page, my page on I Check Your Soul. So feel free to drop me a line or whatever, anytime. Be great to hear from you.
In fact, Nige, if you'll send me an email with all that, then I'll just put it all in when I repost this, and we can do this. And
I'll do it before I go to the beach.
I love this. It's 8 o'clock where I am, and the guys going to the beach because it's about freezing outside. So, my friend, I got to run myself. Thank you, sir, so much. It's been an absolute. Hour has just been absolutely just delightful.
Well, hasn't it? It's gone by so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, and I was checking out the chat as it was going by, and people are just. They're enjoying it. Well, the people in this chat room are the best. I mean, there is a feeling of love.
Best chat room. You've got the best chat room on YouTube.
Thank you,
I know
sir.
Jeff says he's got the best chat room on YouTube, and I think you got the edge.
Thank you. I happen to think so as well. There's, but hey, listen, as you see, my duck puppy is much more sweeter. That's all I got to say.
Oh, absolutely. I love your t-shirt. I really do. I love your t-shirt.
Well, this has just been an absolute blast. Let's do this again, and we'll get it scheduled, and we'll do another Saturday night. It seems like, which would be a Sunday morning on your side. Okay, cool. Well, as you had, pardon?
It's the same time here in Bali as it is in China, so it's like 10 a.m. Sunday morning for me. So perfect.
Okay, well, that's kind of cool. So, I like that. It kind of just, I love this. Time travel is possible, folks. He's living our future. We're in his past. I love this. Nige, thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone in the chat room and for watching. Subscribe. Go over to the Devil's Playground on the YouTube channel as well. Let's get him up to 1,000. Let's do the same thing with Milky Way Messengers. And so we can keep growing this community. Nige, I think that you have a message that needs to be heard and one that I know people will resonate with.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, folks.
I believe that. Yeah.
I believe it is. That's why I said it. All right. We'll see everyone on Monday. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Nige, be safe, my friend, and we will be talking real soon.
You too. Thank you.
All right, good night, everyone.